the Avalanche rolling. The NHLPA presents Be a Player, the hockey show. Brought to you by EA Sports NHL 2000. If it's in the game, it's in the game.
Welcome to Be a Player, the hockey show. I'm Brett Lindros, and this week we brought you to the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. Now, if you're a sports fan here in Denver, you've got plenty to cheer about. There's the NBA's Nuggets, Major League Baseball's Rockies, two-time Super Bowl champs, the Denver Broncos, and of course, the Colorado Avalanche. Now, the Avalanche are known mostly for their offensive firepower, the likes of Chris Drury, Peter Forsberg, and Joe Sakic. But recently, it's been their blue line that's been getting the attention, the acquisition of five-time Norris Trophy winner Ray Bourque from the Boston Bruins. Now, on this show, we're going to sit down and chat with Ray a little later on. But first up, next generation, and Avs rookie sensation Alex Tanguay. Alex is having a great year, and he's up next on Next Generation.
Next Generation, brought to you by Gatorade. Is it in you?
My dad was involved in hockey. He was playing hockey in some kind of old-timer league when I was young, and he had a lot of fun doing it, and I just enjoyed it myself. So as a kid, I wanted to do that, and my dad got me started skating, I think, at the age of 3, and I started playing I was 4, and since that, I loved the game, and I kept on playing. At the start of the year, I was looking for a place to live, and the team kind of wanted me to go in the Billet family, so they were looking, and they didn't find too much, so Patrick offered himself, him and his family, and I was just, so great for them to offer me to go there, and since I've moved there, Patrick and his wife have been just tremendous. The kids, I'm having a blast with the kids. We play a lot of hockey, and it's just great.
In behind the goal, Sakic trying to walk in front, he does. Tanguay shoots, he scores! His first NHL goal!
The guys in this dressing room, the coaching staff and the other players, they've built me a tremendous deal this year, and I'm just glad, they've done that for me, because I think I'm a little better than I was at the start of the year. I still got a long way to go, a lot of things to learn, but they've helped me a big deal. I'm just going to try to take it a step at a time. I know they're always talking about the sophomore jinx there, and I saw Chris and Milan this year didn't go through it, so I just want to make sure that this summer, after the season's over, I'm going to be working hard to make sure I don't get that sophomore jinx.
It's now time for Be a Player Trivia. To play along, send your answer via the internet to NHLPA.com/beaplayer. The first correct answer wins an NHL 2000 video game courtesy of EA Sports. All other timely correct responses received during the show over the week of the premiere airing will be entered in a draw for a chance to win an autographed NHLPA jersey. For complete contest rules, check out NHLPA.com. Here's special guest, Canadian baseball great Larry Walker with this week's question.
Okay, here's a tough one, eh? Who is the only player in NHL history to score at least 30 goals for 5 different teams?
Coming up, Life After Boston with Raymond Bourque.
How's it going to feel if I do ever win one here, if it happens to be this year? I don't know how it's going to feel, but I know I'm going to be an important part of this team if it does happen.
Time now for the Hit Parade. This week, the NHL's top prospects show us their stuff with Skillet and Best Kept Secret.
Simpson, leg one, right, and then he scores! Leg one scores! with a head of steam.
Be a Player gives you a chance to ask your favorite NHL player a question. For your chance to participate, visit NHLPA.com. Alexis from Philadelphia asks John LeClaire, do you feel players should use their notoriety to further a cause? Here's John's reply.
There's a responsibility, I think, being in the public eye and, being as what people think, a role model kind of thing. There's some responsibility, I feel, towards, leading an example.
We're here now in front of the Pepsi Center, the brand new home of the Colorado Avalanche. Now this place opened up this past fall to rave reviews, and it's also the brand new home of one of the NHL's living legends. Mr. Ray Bourque is in his 21st NHL season. He's played in 18 All-Star games, and in my opinion, one of the finest defensemen to ever play the game. This week, we caught up with Ray and talked to him about the trade that brought him here to the Mile High City.
Now for Wesley, back for Bourque, the one-timer scores! Ray Bourque with the victory!
He's done so much. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for your treatment of this great, great player, who still is a great player. And I think the three of us here will be cheering for one particular team to win the Stanley Cup this year.
Avalanche moving around, Bourque in the middle, down the slot, and scores!
Let's start things off with the trade. Tell me a little bit about circumstances and when you heard that you were first traded.
A week before the trade happened, I asked to be traded, and it was something that I was really mulling over for quite a while, for probably about a month and a half, and I wasn't playing real well. The team wasn't doing real good, and I thought that a change, might be good and might be needed. There's two reasons why I asked for the trade. Was one obviously was I'd like to compete for the Cup again and have another crack before I'm done. And the other one was that, I just think I needed a change, and a different environment and a different team I think would really elevate my game. And I had to find out. I've got to find out if that's going to happen. If it does happen, I know I could possibly play again next year.
Into Bourque, slapped up, scores!
To get a player of your caliber at this time of the year must be just such a bolster. You see the guys a little bit more excited about their chances since you've walked in the room?
Well, right after the trade, I got a call from Patrick, and Adam Foote was in his room with Dave Reed that I played with in Boston, and they were very happy, and they were telling me how ecstatic the team was. And so that was a fun call to get, and to come into the room, with totally different players and new jerseys was really weird. That first night in Calgary was warm-up was, I didn't know where I was going, and I didn't know what to do in warm-up, and it was just like you were kind of like in a dream world, just trying to stay out of the way. But once the game started, I was fine. But, a good bunch of guys. I'm still trying to figure out exactly all their nicknames still and exactly who's who. But, I'm starting to warm up to these guys, and I think that goes the same with them. They're starting to get to know me a little better, and it'll be fun in a little while.
What's probably the toughest thing about leaving a city and a home, a team that's, 20 years? I mean, not many guys get to play, 10 years. You get to play 20. Have you had any time to think about some of the aspects that you might miss?
I've had a lot of good times in Boston. And like I said, I'll always be a Bruin because, I started there and I played so long there, and, it's still going to be home for me. When people ask me, what are your fondest memories? It's not the individual stuff that I've accomplished. It's been those two runs that I had at the Cups in 1990 and I think it was 90 and 88 with the Bruins, where you go 4 rounds through the playoffs and you really have to battle and you really come together as a team. Those are my fondest memories, and I'd like to go through that again. And I knew it wasn't going to happen in Boston this year. So, how's it going to feel if I do ever win one here, if it happens to be this year? I don't know how it's going to feel, but I know I'm going to be an important part of this team if it does happen.
How are you enjoying the 4-on-4, and do you think it should be implemented at all for the playoffs?
Definitely not for the playoffs, but I think the feedback from the fans is that it's pretty exciting. And if you talk to Calgary fans, I think they'd say it's very exciting.
Oh, we love it. I mean, so far it's been great to us. You know, we have a lot of guys who can skate well, and we're in best shape. Brian been kicking our butts pretty hard during the practice, so that we have a little bit advantage of that.
Absolutely not. We haven't been very lucky at 4-4 this year, so. But hopefully our luck will change, and then maybe we'll like it a little more.
I really enjoy it, and you know, I wouldn't mind seeing it, but you know, I don't know if that'll ever happen.
I don't know about the playoffs, but I do like it for the regular season. I think it's more exciting, and you know, it opens up the game. You get to see the offensive abilities of the players.
I definitely think they should use it. It's exciting part of the game for fans and also for players. You know, you never know what's going to happen. It's just, I think, much more things can happen when there is more room on the ice and there's 4 skilled players on the ice, and I was definitely enjoying it.
I'm here now outside of Coors Field, home of one of Denver's other professional sports franchises, the Colorado Rockies. And while hockey's getting down to its nitty-gritty time, it's almost playoff time, and I know you guys are excited. The baseball boys are just getting started. Now, the Rockies have a distinct advantage over some of the other teams, this high altitude. The ball seems to leave this park at a fairly high rate, but one downside to the high altitude, players often feel dizzy and out of breath. Now, one NHL player who's never left out of breath is the legend Ray Bourque. Ray's been playing professional hockey since I was 4 years old, and I'm going to tell you he looks just as good now as when he first started. Here's part 2 of our Be a Player profile with the legend Ray Bourque.
Bourque moving in again, fire, score! One-timer by Bourque.
How much did you know about Boston when you were first drafted?
Just that they were a huge rivalry with Montreal. The year before I got there, I remember the Memorial Cup was in Verdun, and that's where I played junior, and it was at the same time that Montreal was facing Boston in the semifinals, and it went seven games, and I think Lambert scored in overtime to win the series. And I remember I was watching a junior game, coming by the Forum to go home to take the bus back home, and I just remember cheering for Montreal and saying, yeah, all right, you know, we beat Boston. And a few months later, I'm drafted by Boston and going over there. I knew they were a team with a lot of history and a lot of good players and a veteran crew. So for me, going there was a perfect situation for a young guy coming in.
Who are some of your favorite players that you played with in Boston? Just give me just characters, and maybe who were some of the best guys you played with in Boston?
Well, Bobby Schmotz, my first year. No, what a character this guy was. On and off the ice was, you know, a prankster, and that team was, you know, they just liked to have fun on and off the ice when I broke in, and hockey was different back then too. You know, the guys weren't as fit. You know, guys had, you know, more fun in terms of even off the ice. You know, you stuck around the rink a little longer. You went for lunch after games. You all went out together, and it's pretty special to be part of that, you know, that kind of era where, you know, it was different. I'm a pretty lucky guy to be able to say, well, I play with Jerry Retriever, Jean Rattel, and you know, I play with Joe Thornton, Sergei Samsonov, and Alex Tanguay, and all these young guys where you know, some of these guys I'm playing with lately, you know, weren't even born my first year in '79, you know, and they joke about it. You know, I'm still, yeah. Or yeah, it's Joe Thornton tells me, yeah, I was in diapers when you started to play in '79 or something like that, and it's pretty wild.
Back in 1996, the All-Star Game was held in Boston. You ended up being the MVP. You made 18 All-Star appearances. Was that any different, or was it fun to be at home?
No, that was the best. You know, I had 16 people staying at my house for that weekend. My family, my wife's family, friends from Montreal. And that whole weekend was great. You know, they got to live it. I had a luxury box. I had tickets. And I had so many friends that found me at that game. And the way it ended, where, you know, scoring the winning goal with 30-odd seconds to go was unbelievable. My son was behind the bench for the whole game. My oldest son, he was right there living it with me, and it was great doing it in front of the fans and my family, and walking out after the game, see my dad's face it was great, and it was the best by far of all my experiences in the All-Star game.
I want to ask you, just recently you hit the 400 goal plateau. I mean, huge distinction. You think 400 goals. Did you ever think at the beginning of your career?
No, it's unbelievable. I can't believe it. I didn't think I would hit it this year. All the things, 1,100 assists, 400 goals. I mean, never did I ever think I'd be hitting certain numbers when I came in. I just wanted to establish myself as a solid NHL player, and just went out and, never really thought about numbers, stats, goals, assists. Just went out and tried to give my best every night.
Do you think it'll keep you going into next year?
Maybe. I think there's a chance that, I'll be playing next year, and I'm feeling pretty good, having fun, and that's the main thing. If you're healthy and enjoying yourself and still productive, those are the three things that have to happen, and so far they're still going on. So we'll have to evaluate after the season's done, but there's a good chance.
Well, I want to thank you very much for sitting down with us, and I hope you're in a uniform. Whatever it is next year, I just really enjoy watching you play.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Be a Player, the hockey show, is brought to you by EA Sports NHL 2000. If it's in the game, it's in the game.
I'm here now in lower downtown Denver, and this area is known as Lodo. This is a great place to visit, very fun. This is where all the action is, all the restaurants, bars, and the like. Behind me is Union Station, one of the most famous landmarks here in downtown Denver. It's now time for our After the Game segment. And this week's feature, Dr. Randy Gregg. Now, Randy was an amazing player, and he won 5 Stanley Cups in 10 years with the Edmonton Oilers. He's up next on After the Game.
Shot blocked at the defense off Gretzky, and then a drive to score! Randy Gregg!
Dr. Randy Gregg's preparations for life after the game began before he ever set foot on NHL ice. Before participating in 2 Olympic Games and 5 Stanley Cup championships as a member of the Edmonton Oilers, Gregg earned a medical degree from the University of Alberta.
As a child, I had many dreams, but neither was hockey or medicine. I wasn't a particularly good hockey player when I was young. I enjoyed the sport, and I had coaches that made sure I would always leave the rink with a smile on my face. Even as late as first and second year in university, still didn't have an idea that medicine would be for me, but realized it would be a great challenge intellectually. It's Randy taking chart notes on Kathy Jansen, Dr. Stanky is referring to doctor. At university, my focus was really on medical school, and I was lucky enough to have some great coaches at the university, Claire Drake primarily, who took a big, slow defenseman and made him slightly faster and still big, but maybe a little bit more intelligent, maybe a player that understood the strategy of the game and breakouts and systems and responsibilities in the defensive end. So even as late as the 4th year medical school, I really didn't have much of an interest in professional hockey. I signed a 4-year contract with the Edmonton Oilers, hoping that I would stick it out for 2 and then get back to my medical career. Fortunately, I guess, the second year we went to the Stanley Cup, and looking around our dressing room at people like Gretzky and Messier and Anderson and Lowe and Fuhr and all those, realized that this team could do some pretty amazing things. And so every year I contemplated going back to medicine, but every year it seemed like it got even more exciting. And maybe a little selfishly, when we win 3 Stanley Cups, it's nice to win another one, hit that 4th. Hi, Chelsea. Randy Gregg's my name. Yeah, you've got a knee problem, do you? Why don't I have you lie down here and we'll have a look at it. I knew I was having 4 little guys coming along. My wife was at home and 4 children that I didn't want to lose with regards to input and experiences as they grew up. So I thought, well, what better way than to set up an integrated sport medicine clinic that allows physicians to come in and work hard as they can when they're here, but when I go on a holiday with my kids or when I go to a speed skating meet and I miss 2 days, the clinic still runs. So an integrated clinic with physiotherapists and exercise physiologists, orthotists, nutritionists, and orthopedic surgeons, as well as primary care physicians, which I am one of, it makes it easier to live the kind of life I want and still be able to commit to the principles of medicine that I uphold. Sometimes when you have a twisting injury, the kneecap can pop out a little bit. Now, if it pops out completely, it's called a dislocation. I often say that if I see 3 or 4 patients that have sustained injuries that I haven't personally sustained, that's a bonus. And, you know, I guess we always have to have different skills. And not that I had many, but I think some of the skills that one gets from playing in the National Hockey League is an awareness of musculoskeletal or sport-related injuries. Secondly, it's awareness of what it takes to become a good athlete by watching all the great ones that were around me. And thirdly is maybe the psychology of athletes, and to realize that it's easy to say, well, just don't play hockey for 2 months, but knowing that I wouldn't listen to that kind of comment, nor would any of my teammates. And so understanding what it is to be an athlete and how we have to respond to injuries to get these people not just pain-free, but pain-free and back to the level that they want it to be.
Be a Player Trivia is brought to you by EA Sports NHL 2000. If it's in the game, it's in the game.
There was one player that scored 30 goals with 5 different teams. Ray Shepard. Ray scored 20 goals with 6 different teams, but this guy scored 30 with 5 different teams.
Did he go through Tampa?
Scored 50 a couple times, but he was always considered like a 30 goal man. He was the magic number was 30 for this guy every year, consistent for a long time.
Anderson?
Wasn't Glenn Anderson close though?
30 goals with 5 different teams.
He was consistently in 30s, like really.
The only reason why I'm thinking that because you're saying consistency. Mike Gartner.
He played in Mike Gartner.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Is that it?
Yeah,
Mike Gartner.
It's not Mike Gartner.
It is Mike Gartner.
All right, it is.
We got one. We got one.
Puck behind the net, Janney there in front, Gartner shoots, score! There it is! Mike Gartner has become the 5th player in the history of the National Hockey League to score 700 goals!
Well, that wraps up this edition of Be a Player, the Hockey Show, coming to you from the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. I'd like to thank Ray Bourque for joining us this week. And remember, if you're looking for the NHL's best players, they're right here on Be a Player. I'll see you next week.
NHLPA.com is your source for the latest stats, scores, and NHL player information. Click on Be a Player for the latest show info or to send us your questions and comments. You'll find it all at NHLPA.com. Brett Lindros's clothing supplied by The Coop. Clothing for Men, Toronto.
The likes of Chris Drury, Pierre Forsberg. It's French now. We on? Nothing on. The ball seems to leave this park fairly quickly. Quickly. It's a new word. Thank you, Mr. Editor. Oh, so close. Join us next week.